Hello, I am Orange Cat, and this is my analysis of episode 2 of The Promised Neverland. The dub aired last night on Toonami, and here's my quick review of it. First of all, I really like how they really connected the first episode to the second episode very well. As in, it's just like the night, like right at the end of the night of the end of the first episode, and you're going to the second episode, and just like the next morning, and you just see Emma just struggling to keep it all together from figuring out everything about mom, figuring out that her whole life is a lie. And I'm just gonna say the spoiler right here, figuring out that her whole life is literally building up to be feedstock to a bunch of demons. I really love that. And another thing I really loved was especially the scene when it was Norman and Emma was just talking. They're in some room somewhere in the building, and they're talking about analyzing the whole concept of the demons eating the kids and figuring out, let's see, they like the older ones and they like eating the brains the most because they were mentioned to being the more prime kids because they were the smarter ones. And how they were able to figure it out reminds me especially of something like Hunter x Hunter on a really good day. And that's just one of those things like how the characters are smart and able to figure stuff out. And unlike Hunter x Hunter, they don't need a narrator to do that. So that's really more economical for the show. I really love that. And I just especially love the how especially the three kids interacted, Norman, Emma, and Ray. When Ray kind of started figuring out that something was up with them, they followed them past the gate to the wall. And then you have this whole interaction with Ray trying to be like the reasonable one, saying, "Let's be honest, some of us can survive. We definitely can make it. We're older, we're stronger. Maybe a couple of the other older kids can make it too, but like the young ones, like like the babies, they're not gonna make it because that's gonna involve them finding some way to climb over the wall." And then Emma being like this, like I guess this maternal character being like, "No, I want to save my whole family." And this whole interaction where Norman, as the argument kind of went on, started more and more siding with Emma, which really just signified her strength as a character. Because you would think right off the bat, her whole fear was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna be eaten," because I was implied that I'm probably the very next one to be eaten. But it's like, no, the whole time she's just worried for her family, and that's just the type of character she is. How loving, how caring, how deep she is into her friends, into her family, which reminds me especially of like I said, like last episode, reminds me a lot of Kana from Alternative, where she loves everyone to death. She loves her friends to death. She would do anything for them. Now, whether or not that's going to bite her in the ass later, we still have to see. And another thing I noted, and I kind of feel stupid for not noticing this the first time around, notice how all the kids are wearing the same uniform, like all the boys are wearing the same thing and all the girls are wearing the exact same thing. And especially how they all have numbers tattooed on their necks, how that's supposed to be. I don't know if this is a direct or indirect reference, but it reminds me of like the Holocaust, how the Jews or the other undesirables in the concentration camps were all branded, were all forced to wear matching clothing to separate them from the general population. And just really how it is, like, because, in the concentration camps, odds are you're going to die. You were slated to die. And in this place, you are too. However, you also have like this whole element where you know it's happening, but it's just slow because they mention like, oh, there's a delivery every 2 months or so. Meanwhile, it's just like this whole thing where it's just like prodding because it's like a good suspense stiller where you know that, well, I know I'm gonna die, but I don't know exactly when, and that's half the fear, and it's just that alone, like not knowing when you're gonna die. And that's just something this show uses to an expert level. The camera work in this was brilliant. It really looked like the kids were being watched. And at the same time, I just really like I said, how Norman and Emma especially were able to kind of team up and to plan about this whole, okay, there's this wall. What's over the wall? Emma, you're the physical one. You go up there and see. Or like Norman figuring out the whole, we need to get sheets to be able to climb over the wall. So they were able to take sheets from some of the beds or something back in the orphanage house, and they put them in the knot of the tree. So for later, when they're planning to escape, they can escape. And especially like how Ray was able to add in, well, we're probably on some type of demon planet or demon country, so it's not gonna be like familiar, like off. It's probably gonna be hostile country when we get past the wall, even if we get there too. It's just one of those things. Like this show doesn't have a dumbass character, and that's a frustrating thing for most shows. Like you have like this one character that has to be like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Oh, do you know who might help us with this? Mom. She's a smart woman. It's not like she's tracking us and is feeding us to the demons or anything. there's no character like that, and I really love that about the show, especially among the main three. And that's just something that's really worked for the show's advantage so far. If there's any downside to this episode, I mentioned last time how there was like a weird cut when like they were cutting to Emma for like a line that was way too quick. They did this to like a reaction shot to Norman at one point late in the episode. It's just like a very tiny detail. It's probably a nitpick, but at the same time, I mean, it takes a little away from the show. And a great thing this show does, if you're talking about like the artwork in it, you know how the first episode was full of color for most of it, except for the last scene at night. It was like they're playing tag, they're having fun, all these vivid colors. Most of this episode had very not dour, but very muted coloring because it creates the atmosphere because it's not the sunshine paradise anymore because you're slated to die here. And that's just something that really illustrates you're in a prison. And it's like, you thought this prison was a paradise, but you're figuring out, holy shit, we're gonna die. Also, it's kind of like I said about Logan's Run, the whole thing, like, oh, you go to age of 30 and you don't renew, you just explode and die. And that's just a really thing I really love about this show. If I could give a number rating on the show episode, I would give it a 9.5. Not quite a 10. It was amazing. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but this is probably the best anime I've seen in a long time. And I'm hanging it up there with something like a Fooly Cooly, like the original so far. Because this show hits suspense, it hits the horror aspects perfectly so far. With a couple small animation things here and there only being the only things that are really holding it back for me. But again, I strongly recommend this anime. If you happen upon this review and you haven't seen the first episode, start from the beginning. You're gonna love it. And that's really all I have to say about this episode. Do you want more reviews on the show? Do you like more content? Do you want me to review more anime? Do you want me to review more animation in general? Please give a like, shoot a comment down below. What do you think? Do you have any suggestions for anime I should look at? That'd be great. If you like this content, if you want more content like this, please subscribe. Thank you very much for your support. I am Orange Cat, and